Many of you sent a lot of messages last Sunday when Lavi shared her journey. So I wanted her to share this week as well, from her heart, and to share her stories. At the end of the day, we can teach whatever we want to teach, but when people, you cannot argue with a man of experience. Right? You can say whatever you want to say, but when somebody has experienced it, then there is no argument against it. So here is a person who has experienced a significant change in the heart journey, right? And it is our privilege to sit and listen to the stories. Always, when we listen to people's story, God told us that whenever you're listening to people's story, no matter how messy it is, I want you to treat it as holy ground, right? How God told Moses, hey, remove the sandals because where you stand is holy. So when people invite us into their stories, I feel like treading on holy ground. So she is laying her heart bare with her stories. I want you to honor and receive that well. Bless you.
Okay. Good to see all of you. So last week we were talking about how we have foundational beliefs and how we live out our lives from the beliefs that we have. We have beliefs about ourselves, we have beliefs about God, and we have beliefs about the people around us. And we build our life based on what we believe. Yes, so I'm here to tell you a few more stories, few more of my stories, which could be yours, because most of our stories are similar. Sometimes the things I say, you might think, no, those are the dialogues that go in my head. Yeah, those are the ones that go in my head too. We can all stand and embrace our story and not be ashamed because of the redemptive work of the gospel. The redemptive work of the gospel in our lives, which transforms our belief system, which in turn transforms the quality of the lives that we live. And how does it happen? It happens through decisions. Every day, whatever you do, we all make decisions. We sometimes decide to live consciously. We sometimes decide to live unconsciously. We sometimes listen to our heart. We sometimes do not listen to our heart. We condemn our heart. We condemn our thoughts. We condemn our own selves. If you have seen someone condemn others so much, if you see someone so irritated, if you see anyone, or if you think, oh, that's me, condemning others so much, being mostly irritated, easily able to find out what is wrong with the other person, you should know that that person is the one who is so irritated with their own self, so condemning of their own self, and so judgmental about their own self. The ones who judge others actually are the ones who have judged themselves the most. The ones who have not been able to those who are not able to be kind to others is because they haven't been kind to their own selves. The ones who are struggling to forgive someone else are the ones who find it and struggle so hard to forgive their own selves. Yeah? So let me tell a few stories. Like the last Sunday, I was talking about retreats, couples retreat, or it can be a church potluck. Yeah? a church potluck or a couple's retreat or a marriage ceremony that I have to attend, anywhere where people are gathered, I would feel something. I would not be comfortable. I would be tensed. I would not feel like relaxing and enjoying the scenery or enjoying the people or the comments they make or enjoy how beautifully the women there are dressed. I would be so disturbed. So I began to ask myself, what is it that is disturbing me so much when I go to a get-together, when people get together? What is it that is disturbing me? Actually, it took me many years to figure out that I was actually getting disturbed before I go for such meetings. So when I say it took me many years, it took me a decade. Yeah, it took me a decade to find out. Okay, so every time as I'm getting ready to go somewhere, I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling disturbed. So the first few times, many times we would come back after a couple's retreat, or we would come back after a potluck, or we would come back after a get-together of some kind. Then I come back home and I'm so irritated. I'm angry with the kids for things which I usually do not get angry. That day I'm angry with the kids. They spill a glass of water and then you're so tensed. It's a glass of water. Or if they spill a glass of milk, okay, it's a glass of milk. But that day, you feel like thrashing the crap out of them. Okay, interesting. Rather than thinking, oh, I'm such a bad mom. I'm such a bad mom. I have not been able to get anything right. So those were the thoughts that initially used to come to me. But then I realized, okay, I have to get curious about why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. I should actually say, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting, rather than condemn myself. That's interesting. And a few months ago, I figured out that whenever people gather together, I feel more lonely than ever. So what was actually getting triggered was my own feelings of loneliness. So many people are there, but I'm feeling so alone. So many people come and say hi, and I say hi too. And I go and talk, they come and talk, but I'm feeling alone. Okay, so there's this something that's deeper that's getting triggered. Whenever some important special meeting happens, say I remember when Gary came one of the first times and lots of healings were taking place. I remember someone's leg grew a few inches and it was awesomely crazy. And I was there, but I was so disconnected from the whole thing. I was looking at everything, but I was not able to participate. I was not able to take part and be happy about what was happening. And then I remember another time when Paul Rajkumar uncle had come, one of his first visits. So Jesuddin, he had called Jesuddin on stage and he was telling everyone, okay, you need to make a covenant with this man. You need to marry him. You need to, what he was meaning was you need to be loyal and committed. And that day, Paul Rajkumar uncle didn't call me. Okay. And we went back home and I was like, Jesuddin, Paul Rajkumar uncle didn't call me. At least you could have called me. Did you look for me? He said, yeah, I was looking for you. In the place where you usually sit, you were not there. So I thought you went off to handle Sunday class. And so I didn't call you. He said, no, I was there in the hall. You didn't look for me. You don't value me. You don't see anything in me, was what I was telling. So this was repeatedly happening. Whenever some important meeting would be there, I would feel not important. I would feel not seen. I would feel not wanted. But I wouldn't know to tell that way to Jesuddin. So at home, I would be upset with so many things. Like anywhere, there'll always be 100 things you can get upset about. Yeah? There'll always be so many things that just don't go right. But rather than, finding a solution for it or thinking about how to get that done, I used to be angry and irritated. So after a few times, Jesodian started telling me, are you seeing a pattern here? Can you see a pattern? I was like, no, there is no pattern here. No, there is a pattern here. I said, no. He said, are you seeing that every time there is a special meeting or every time somebody comes, you're feeling disturbed? And I went, oh yeah, there's something here. You must be the problem. It's very easy, right? To tell the other person, you must be the problem. So then I had to take time. Okay, so what was it? What was it? I realized, okay, so my heart is crying out for significance. My heart is crying out for acknowledgement. My heart is crying out to be seen, to be heard. Is that a legitimate need? Yes, a very legitimate need. But how I was expressing it or how I was expressing my feelings without my knowledge of my own needs was very, very destructive. The thing is, we behave in ways that make sure that our needs don't get met. Yeah, you understand? When you want to be loved, you want to make friends, you're longing for a deep relationship with a good friend. But when that need has not been met for a while, for a period of time, we begin to behave in ways, in a particular way that make sure that your need will not get met. Yeah, that is because of somehow over a period of time you tell yourself, I don't deserve to be seen. Though it is that you want to be seen, you want to be heard, and you want to be acknowledged, somewhere you have started to believe that, okay, I'm not worthy to be seen, I'm not worthy to be acknowledged, I'm not worthy, and so that's why nobody wants me. So I was seeing this pattern. So that was when the story that I shared last Sunday, where we were going for a couples retreat, and before going for the couples retreat, I said, God, there have been so many couples retreats where after attending I come back in such a bad shape. I come back so frustrated and hating the whole thing. I remember after one of the retreats I told Jesodian, no more couple retreats. I am not coming for any couple retreat anymore. It's just not working. Something is not right. I'm not coming. It's like, no, this is what we are called for, to build families, to build marriages. So, yeah, that was when the next couples retreat happened. I said, God, okay, another couples retreat. I'm going. I want to be a blessing in this couples retreat. I want to go there and be a blessing. I want to go out there and help someone. I want to go out there and tell them that they are important, that they matter, that their needs matter, that they deserve to have their needs met. But I don't know how to control this thing that's coming up with me, the triggers that are getting triggered when I am in a retreat. So that was when the Father showed me that image, where he was holding my face and his face was in front of my face. He said, this is all you need. This is all you need. His face was all I needed. Actually, that couples retreat went on really well. That was the last couples retreat. That went on really well. So every time I would feel alone or I would feel triggered, I was able to sit back and, okay, his face is all I need. I am not alone. I am loved. So those were decisions that I made. Those were, I had a choice. So at that time, so even during that retreat, again, I had opportunities where I felt alone. I had opportunities where I felt lost. Yeah, I would be in the crowd. I would have people sitting all around me, and I would feel so lost. Yeah, but so when I was feeling that, I was able to bring the Father's face in front of me and see Him hold my face and say, "This is all you need. This is all you need." So I was very happy after that couples retreat because I learned to listen to my heart. I learned to see what my needs were. And I learned to verbalize my needs without shaming and blaming the other person. So here in this case, without shaming and blaming Jesodian. I was able to verbalize my needs. And even if he was not able to meet, I was able to receive from the Father, seeing that He holds my face. There was another story that I'd like to share. So there was this baby shower that was happening, and they came and they invited Jesodian, and they said, "Anna, please come for the baby shower." I said, "Yeah, we'll be there." And so when Jesodian came back home, he said, "Hey, there's this baby shower." I said, "No, I'm not coming." He said, "No, why? Why are you not coming?" I said, "No, they want only you. They didn't. I don't think they want me there." He said, "No, if they invited me, they've invited you. So you should come." Like, "No, I know they don't want me there." I said, "Who told you that?" I said, "I know." He said, "No, you don't know." So, yeah. So we went for the baby shower, finished the whole thing, and then after the baby shower, that person came and told Jesodian, "Thank you so much for coming." And then they came and told me, "Akka, I never thought you'd come." Thank you for coming. So now here I have a choice to tell, "See, I was right. They actually didn't want me to come." Or I have another choice to make. Okay, so actually they thought I wouldn't prioritize them. They thought that I may not want to be at their function. And so that was what they thought, but they are really glad that I came. So always there is a choice of how you want to interpret. Yeah, how you want to interpret however someone is behaving or not behaving. So before going there, I really had to work and go against what I was feeling. I wanted to go there and really bless them. If I went there, I wanted to go bless them with all my heart, welcome the baby, and be there wholeheartedly. So before going, I had to make a choice. I had to make a decision. Okay, I don't know why they didn't come and tell me. Maybe they searched for me and they didn't find me. Or maybe they actually didn't want me to come. That is none of my business. They are free to come and call me in person or not call me in person. But I am free to go and bless them with all my heart. I am free to be free of their opinion of me. Yeah, we have the situation repeat in so many. I'm sure it has happened in all of your lives. You have a wedding, there is a friend's wedding where they invited you, or they invited your friend and they didn't invite you, or they didn't invite you the way you wanted them to invite you. So rather than think about, they didn't do that, just get curious about, okay, so actually what is my heart longing for? What is my heart crying out for? What is my need that is not being met, that is causing me to behave in this particular way? So if we stop condemning ourselves, when we stop condemning ourselves and stop judging our feelings as right and wrong, stop judging our feelings as right and wrong, then we'll be able to listen to our heart to actually think about, okay, what are my needs actually? See, sometimes we feel angry, we feel irritated, we feel not enough. Okay, somebody is well dressed and I'm not for that particular meeting or wedding. You feel you're not enough, I'm not enough, I'm not okay, I'm not wanted, I'm not good enough. So these are the underlying things. But on the outside, you might experience that as anger, irritation, frustration, jealous feelings. See, next time you're jealous, just get curious. Don't condemn yourself. Next time you're jealous, just get curious. Just get curious. Oh, I'm feeling jealous. Interesting. Get curious. Why am I feeling jealous? Oh, I'm wanting what that person has. Is it wrong to want what that person is having? Rather than thinking, is it wrong? Think about what need I am wanting to be seen. I am wanting to be acknowledged. I am wanting my effort to be acknowledged. I am needing affirmation. I am needing praise. I am having a need. So when you become aware of your needs, that itself is half the problem solved. Because when we are not aware of our needs, we condemn ourselves more and we begin to be hard on our own selves. Yeah. So we just need to get curious. Getting curious is very, very important. Pardon? Yeah, I went to the baby shower. I think I was telling him. I think you missed it. Yeah. I was also having a lot of problems with trusting. I find it difficult to trust anyone, starting from Jesodian. So I was finding it very difficult to trust. So Jesodian would say, I actually value you. I value you and you are important to me. I say, no, I don't feel it. And I'm not ready to trust. When you don't trust people around you, it actually becomes very difficult for those around you. Because I was not trusting, it was becoming very difficult for Jesodian, it was becoming very difficult for Jesodian's parents and the family. Yeah, so we live in a world of assumptions. When we don't trust, we tell ourselves, I know that this is what you're thinking of me. I know they didn't want to give this to me and that's why they treated me this way. Okay. So there was this conference that happened. And towards the end of the conference, okay, let me be more specific. It's okay. It was Awaken conference. Okay. It was the end of the conference. And I was just so lost. It was the last session. I had just taken, they had asked to clear this place, so I had just taken my bags to leave it at the back. I went to the back and then I just stayed there. I didn't know what I was feeling, but I knew I was not feeling good. I was wondering, why? What am I feeling? And then I was not able to pray. I was not able to engage in the prayer. So I didn't think about what was my heart crying out for at that time. I began to be angry with myself. I began to be angry with Jesodian. So we went back home, and after the 3 days conference, I had a good fight. So, no, you didn't do this, you didn't say this, come, I want this, back and forth. fighting is very easy. When you are just irritated, we all can find reasons to be grumpy. We all can easily find reasons to blame the other person. It's very easy. Oh. So again, what was actually triggering me was, it was feelings of loneliness. I somehow had told myself, I can be in a crowd and I will still always be alone. People might be there with me, but I am alone. People might say I'm your friend. They might hug, they might give you kisses, but I am alone. It was such a deep-rooted thing in me. It was something of that got triggered that day, and I was not aware of it. So I would get triggered if Jasudin doesn't. Okay, so before I say this, peace be to all of you. I will not be triggered if you do not mention my name, or if you give something to Jasudin and do not give it to me. I have come to that place. Yeah, I have come there. So when Renu was mentioning Lavina and Jasudin, I was like, okay, I'm glad I've come to a place where someone mentioning my name or not mentioning my name is not defining my value anymore. I am beginning to discover who I am and what my value is, irrespective of whether you mention my name or not. I'm learning to be secure and say, okay, maybe they just forgot. Maybe they were on stage and they were so tensed and they didn't mention my name. If I'm going to get tensed and irritated that someone didn't mention my name or call my name, I would be such a fool, is what I'm thinking now. But back then it was not like that. People mentioning my name or acknowledging me was so important to me, so much so that my joy depended on it. That is a very bad place to be. That's a very bad place to be. So, this fasting conference, right? This fasting Dominion conference. At the end of the conference, so I was talking to you about Awaken conference and how I got triggered. It was a fasting conference and I decided, okay, every time a conference happens, every time a retreat happens, every time some special meeting happens, something or the other causes me to be disturbed, be disconnected from what is happening, and so I am not receiving. Okay, this time I am going to stand. I am going to receive what the Father wants for me. I am going to make a decision to be expectant to receive from the Father. So that was again a decision. That was again a decision. So at the end of the conference, this might look really silly, but it's okay, I'm going to tell it anyway. Yeah. So at the end of the conference, Jasudin is calling out a few names to come forward and pray. And he didn't call my name. Now I had a choice to think, actually Jasudin is not valuing me. He missed my name. He missed me. I had a choice. I had to decide, no, this is my house. If Jasudin is there, I am there along with him. What he is called to is what I am called to. What he is doing, actually I am on the other side where I am calling people forth. I should not be expecting my name to be called here. So I came, to walk and come and stand beside him, I had to let go of whatever I was feeling. My feelings of distrust, my feelings of loneliness, my feelings of what I believed about people. I had to let go of all of that, work against it, and come and stand beside him. Of my own choice. For some of you, it might look like, what's the big deal? Why are you making such a big fuss about this? Yeah, if that's how it has been to you and you have grown to be secure, that's fantastic. But if there are some others who are able to identify with the story and make sense of it, I'm so happy that it will make sense to you. So I decided, okay, I'm not going to wait for my name to be called. I'm not going to wait for Jasudin to call me. I have to own my place. I have to rise up. I have to do what I have to do. I have to stand. So that is again a decision. Always, every day, we all have decisions to make. Each of us have decisions to make. And you can decide. You can decide. You can decide whatever you want to. But the quality of your life will depend upon the quality of the decisions you make. The quality of your life will depend upon the quality of the decisions you make. Sometimes we fail to see, we think these decisions are just my decisions that are affecting my day that day. We fail to see that our decisions have generational impact. Have you ever thought, talking about decisions, we're not just talking about decisions to do something. We're not talking about, can I go to this hotel or that hotel? Or can I go to church today or not go to church today? Those are also decisions. But the decisions that we are talking about is about the decisions about the beliefs that you have built your life upon. The beliefs that you have about God, the beliefs that you have about God, others, about ourselves. Beliefs that we have about God, beliefs that we have about ourselves, beliefs that we have about others. Let me tell you another thing that I was working on. So, after many conversations back and forth, I figured out, this was many years ago, I figured out, so I don't know that I'm valuable, I don't know my value, I don't know my significance. I don't know who is this girl. I don't know who is this girl. So I had to start asking the Father, who am I? Who am I? What am I? Where am I going? So there was this exercise that I began to do every day. So every morning when I would brush my teeth, I would stand in front of the mirror and I would look at that girl in the mirror. And I would talk to that girl in the mirror. I would tell her, you are important. You are valuable. I began to see beauty in the eyes of the girl that I was seeing in the mirror. I began to see that she is adorable. I began to see that I am adorable. I began to see that I am lovable. I began to see that I am worthy. I began to tell myself that things are going to be okay. I began to tell myself that I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it and things are going to be okay. So what was I doing when I was doing those exercises every day in the morning? I was bringing my mind in agreement with what the Father tells about me. I was bringing my mind in agreement with what the Father believes about me. To believe, that He causes His face to shine on me. And because He causes His face to shine on me, I am lovable. I am beautiful. I have something unique. I am significant. I am accepted. So this was how I worked on the beliefs that I had about myself. This was one of the ways I worked on the beliefs that I had about myself. When it comes to talking about beliefs that I had about people around me, there was a particular phase. I don't exactly remember what conversation it was. At the end of the conversation, Jasudin and I were praying. Jasudin said, now open your mouth and tell, I need people around me. And I believe that people are good. I just couldn't open my mouth. I was shaking to the core. I could not open my mouth and tell, I need people around me. People around me are good. I would open my mouth, but I would just not be able to tell it. took me a very long time. It just takes a few seconds, right, to say, I need people around me. People around me are good. God has given loving people around me. To say these 3 sentences took me around 15-20 minutes. Only after that did I realize, oh, I'm actually believing so strongly that people around me don't care, they are bad, they are going to let me down. I had so firmly believed that. And I realized that only after I struggled so much to just say that, when I was emotionally engaged with my beliefs, I was struggling so much to verbalize that. So for a period of time, what I was actually doing is bringing people in front of me and telling myself that they are good. So for example, if it is Jesudin, I would bring Jesudin in front of me. Say, I choose to believe that you are good. I choose to believe that your heart towards me is kind. I choose to believe that you love me. So today I'm able to say it, but initially when I started, I would find it so difficult to say it. I would find it so difficult to even mentally engage with those thoughts. I would do it with Jesudin, I would do it with my parents. So I would bring them and say, I believe that you are good. I believe in the goodness in you. I had to do it with Jesudin's parents. I had to do it with my sister-in-law and her husband. I had to bring them in front of my mind and say, okay, I'm going to believe that these people are good, that they mean good to me, that they want to do good to me. So these, though on the outside, they just look like, why are you just playing so much with your thoughts? These are not just thoughts. They are beliefs that you have. They are foundational beliefs that you have, from which you are doing your everyday life. And we are just not aware of it. I was just not aware of it. Anything else you want to add? Yeah. So whenever Jesudin would say this, this part what you're believing is wrong, I don't think you're right. I would say, no, I am right. I know I am right. Whatever he would tell me would feel so wrong. I would say, no. Sometimes I won't say it on the outside, on the inside. I know you're wrong. I know you're wrong. It would be, so the feedback that Jesudin would give me would not seem real. I would think what I'm thinking is the right thing. So after many years of marriage, repeated conversations, and in all the conversations I find out that, okay, I'm believing this wrong, okay, looks like there's another hiccup here, okay, looks like I've got another problem here. So I began to hate conversations. I would hate conversations so much. Sometimes our day offs, that is Mondays, would be full of these conversations. Like, no, I don't want another Monday. Because it becomes so draining. Because I began to think that he was telling me that I was wrong. When in fact he was telling, okay, you've got to change this belief that you have. What I was hearing was, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Yeah, like you always know, you're wrong, you're not going to get anything right. Was what I was hearing. So I had to actually, okay, I have to listen to what he is saying. I used to find it very difficult to listen to what he is saying. He would be saying something, and he'd ask, okay, did you understand what I said? Can you please repeat? And I would be telling something completely opposite. And he'd be wondering, how can you understand what I'm saying like this? You've got a capacity to understand. And then, so then I told him, see, when you're talking like this, I'm feeling so much of shame already. And so when you confront me, I'm feeling like a piece of crap. So when you tell me this is what you're doing, I feel like a piece of crap. So then he asked me, okay, so now tell me, how can I tell you in a way that will help you understand without hurting you? So I gave step-by-step, clear instructions. So I said, okay. So when you want to tell something that is wrong with me, you call me, put me on your lap, now stroke my head gently, and then with a nice tone of voice, give me a disclaimer telling I'm going to tell you something that you might not like to hear, but I'm telling this for your good. And then, and then you tell me whatever you want, I'll be able to take what you say. So actually, sometimes you think, okay. Yeah, we shall recommend the same for all the spouses here. Yeah. So when Jesudin is here preaching, I want you to know that he has actually applied what he is preaching. Okay? I want you to know that Christ has been formed in him on account of me. I have given him the privilege of learning to apply whatever he is preaching. Yeah. So, he's not just here preaching. He has lived it out, and I can vouch for that. I can vouch for that. Yes, please give him a hand. So, yeah. One important thing, when you go back home, and it can be with your siblings, it can be with your spouses, it can be with your friends, don't go and you find a similar situation between the two of you. Don't tell your friend, hey, you're acting just like that. What was mentioned in the service, right? You're acting just like that. If you tell like that, it's not going to work. Yeah? Give feedback in love. Give feedback in love. Whatever you do, do it out of love. If you don't care enough, so there's this quote that says, people don't care what you say until they know that you care. People don't care what you say until they know that you care. So especially in marriage relationships, do the correction, but do it in love. Give the feedback, but give the feedback in love. Confront, but confront in love. And if the person who is confronting you is not doing it in love, then you will get a chance to show them love and tell them later that the way they confronted was not in love. Yeah? Yeah.
What are you guys feeling when you're listening to these things? I understand, yeah. But what are you... Okay, you can relate, okay. Then what else is running in your head? We are a work in progress, okay. மடியில் வையின்னு சொல்கிறாங்க புரியுதுங்களா? என்னம்மா? You're asking from my end how I did this whole thing? Oh yeah, you're the only person who asked the right question, okay? See, as I told last week itself, for me, thankfully, Gary came early into our journey and he told, hey, you can't journey your wife, forget about journeying the bride of Christ. So for me, the big picture was very much tied to this whole thing. Okay. So I was not, thankfully, I was not running the race as if, oh, this is a separate thing. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I have a calling. I have a this. I have a that. I am going to do it anyway. Unfortunately, many men of God, big people who get divorced, get onto the camera and say, guys, the call upon my life, what I'm called for, I'm going to run. Yes, I've gone through divorce, but the call upon my life, it has not changed. They have bifurcated these two things conveniently so they can just do what they want to do and say this thing didn't work. But thankfully for me, the mentors who came into my life said, if this thing is not working, you're shutting down everything else. So
I tell, God loved me so much. That's why He brought Gary. He brought Gary. He brought Roshan Spencer's. That's the grace message. Every message, I would say, it was for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made it.
So it was a decision that was made. Even before marriage, there was certain non-negotiables for me. Even though I didn't have all these revelations back then, I had very plain, simple things. Certain things are just no options. So I removed certain options before getting into marriage itself. And so all these 12 years, I have never once said, no, this is not going to work. Not once. I have never once said, you need to leave. I've never once raised my hand, no matter how angry I am. So these are the options that I removed before getting into marriage. I said, I'm not going to keep these options open. That's a decision that I took. And then the second thing is, one guy one week before my marriage called me, said, Jesu, you have so many dreams about your marriage, you have so many prophetic words that this is how your wife would be and all these things, but God is going to give that all in a seed form to you. Hallelujah. Right? You might be believing for oranges, but all God gives you an orange seed. Okay? It is up to you to give the right atmosphere and unpack the seed and unpack the potential and bring the oranges out of that seed. So he said that, and that stuck with me really, strong. And so whenever there is something, I tell myself, okay, whatever I'm believing God for, it's within her. And it's my privilege to bring it out. And it is my privilege to call forth those things. And that is one thing. And the whole power of decision that she's talking about is the same thing, right? So when she tells, my ego is getting hurt. And in my mind, I'm thinking, she's like, okay. And at times she'll just walk off and go into the room and lock the door. So I'm sitting. Okay. Even if she's going to stay there for 48 hours, she can't do this thing by herself. I know it. She knows it, but she doesn't know it at that point. Okay. So I have a choice to make. Oh, am I going to get hurt with my ego and say, okay, let her deal with it, and then let her come back after 48 hours and say, oh, can you just help me sort this thing out? So then I am a spirit message has to come. Right? Okay, I am a spirit. My ego is getting hurt. I'm going to put my ego down and I'm going to go and knock the door. And I go knock the door. And because of the fan noise, she didn't hear the knock, it seems. Okay. So I'm standing here and knocking as Jesus was knocking at the door. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. And she's not opening. And so what I'm telling is, when you're doing all these things, every moment you're making decisions. That's what I'm saying. The life that you live are the decisions that you make. Look at somebody and say, the life that you're living are the decisions that you're making second by second, minute by minute. So I'm standing at the door and knocking. Okay, she's not opening. Again, I have a decision to make. Am I going to stand? And when she opens, now I have a decision, right? What the heck are you thinking, huh? You walk out on me and you lock the door, right? So it's not that those dialogues don't run in my head. But I see those things as demonic dialogues. I say, oh, that's not Holy Spirit speaking. I'm going to cooperate with the Holy Spirit. So I'm talking about every single time you have decisions to make. And this is what people don't get it. They are like, oh, what you're saying is not working. What I'm saying is not working because you're not willing to work it. You're not taking the decision to work it out. That's the simple reason. It works. It works. It will work every time when you decide it to work. It won't work automatically. Sam Prabha will call me and say, hey, when this thing is going to change? I'm like, let's just consider it's not going to change. And you get to love her. And at a particular point, in a particular conversation, but in her language it's fight. Right? For me it's a conversation, for Lavi it's a fight. And I said, what I do with Vijayan is called fight. Then she says, no, that is animal fight. This is human fight. Right? So we are having a conversation and she's lying down and I'm lying down in the bed. And then I look at her. I'm not speaking for some time. And then I look at her and I say, I'm going to say something that I've never said in all these years of marriage. This was a few years ago. Then her face flushed. Okay, all her blood drained out somewhere. She became white. Because I've never used the word divorce, I've never used the word get out, I've never used the word I'm done. So I told her, I'm going to tell you something I've never said all these years. She's like, okay, this guy lost it right now. And I told her, I'm going to say something that I told you on the day of wedding, but on the day of wedding I repeated what the pastor said. But today I'm going to tell it by my choice. I've decided to love you unconditionally. No matter whether you change a bit or not, I'm going to love you unconditionally. I told that because few weeks prior to that, her sister, Faith, came to me and said, Jesu, you guys talk a lot about unconditional love, right? Which marriage, any guy who loves his wife unconditionally, can you show me one? I mean unconditionally, loving the person. No conditions, no strings attached. Love the person. My mind is frantically searching, right? And I wanted to tell her, hey, I love your sister unconditionally, right? Even though I was thinking I was doing, but when I was getting offended, I knew that I was not loving unconditionally. So I looked at her and I said, whether you change or not, today I give you a word, and I'm going to love you no matter what. And she says that was the pivotal point in which true transformation began to happen. And probably today it's time up, probably one more day I would tell how she got to do the same thing to me in terms of sexual brokenness. So I got to do that for her in relational brokenness. And all these things, whatever I did to her, she did to me in the area of sexual brokenness. And that's where true transformation happened for me. So, it was not like I'm perfect. Relationally, I'm okay, right? My growing up scenario was very different compared to her. So relational capacity was very different, but sexually I was very broken. And she was not sexually broken at all. Her graph was straight in that area. And she didn't have a clue about my sexual brokenness, just I didn't have a clue about her relational brokenness. So we got to love each other unconditionally in these areas and allow the other person to make choices to be transformed in the presence of unconditional love. So no matter what you're going through, what I'm telling you is true transformation is only possible in the presence of unconditional love, and that has to be a choice. That has to be a choice, right? I want to read a few verses before we finish. Colossians chapter 3, verse 12. I want you all to read it out loud. Come on, ready, go. You are always and dearly loved by God, so robe yourself with the virtues of God. Look at somebody and say, you're always and dearly loved by God. Come on, look at someone and tell. Come on, look at your spouse and tell them. Look at someone and say, you're always and you're dearly loved by God. So, because you're always, every minute loved by God, so robe yourself with the virtues of God. What God alone can do. You can clothe yourself with virtues of God because God is constantly loving you. So robe yourself with the virtues of God since you have been divinely chosen to be holy. You know, we have really misunderstood this word holy. The word holy means one of a kind. Right? Because God has divinely chosen you to be one of a kind, God is constantly loving you so that you can robe yourself with the virtues of God. One of a kind na தமிழ்ல சொல்லுங்க, நீங்க ஒரு மாதிரி இருக்கீங்க ஆனா ஒரு மாதிரி இருப்பீங்க அப்படி சொல்லுங்க. இப்போ ஒரு மாதிரி இருக்கீங்க. Now also you're one of a kind. But holy is one of a divine kind. Right? God wants you to be one of a divine kind because you said this is not humanly possible. But it is very much possible for us because we have been chosen by God to be one of a kind so that we can robe ourselves with the virtues of God. Be merciful as you endeavor to understand others. So, while I'm trying to understand her, from where she is coming, why she is getting agitated, why she is, what is bothering her, I am endeavoring to be merciful, to understand, and be compassionate, showing kindness toward all. Be gentle, humble. Come on, read that phrase. Be gentle, humble. No, Jessica, satam apdi. Gentle, humble, and unoffendable. Say that word again. Unoffendable. Say that word 5 times. Unoffendable. Do you know there is a place in Christ where you can come where you're unoffendable? You're not offended anymore. Because you're so figured out your identity, your heart is so set on fire that offense comes near your heart, it's burnt. That person's words come to you, but your heart is set ablaze on God's fire, and it comes, it's burnt. Their disrespect doesn't reach you as disrespect. Even though the intention is to disrespect you, it doesn't reach you as disrespect because your heart is on fire. There is that place where you're unoffendable in your patience with others. Not when everything is going right. If you need to be patient with others, that means they are not perfect people around you. That's why. So you can be unoffendable in your patience with others. Look at the next thing. Tolerate. Come on, read. Open your mouth and read. Tolerate the weaknesses. The plural. It comes in plural, right? Weaknesses of those in the family of faith. Forgiving one another in the same way you have been graciously forgiven by Jesus Christ. If you find fault with someone, release the same gift of forgiveness to them. Put the same thing in Message version. So chosen by God for this new life of love, dressed in the wardrobe God picked out for you. Right? All of you went this morning, opened your cupboard and decided what to wear. It was the decision that you made. Every opportunity you decide what wardrobe you're going to wear. In any given conversation, with any interaction with any person, how you're going to dress yourself, you decide. Just like how you decided your dress this morning. Here it says, in the wardrobe, God picked out for you. So what are the dresses that God has? Compassion, kindness, humility, quiet strength, discipline, even-tempered, content with the second place, quick to forgive in an offense, forgive as quickly and completely as the Master forgave you. Look at somebody and say, you are free to forgive quickly and completely. Come on. Tell. You are free to forgive quickly and completely. Say it like this. I am free. It's very easy to say, you are free to forgive quickly and completely. Say, I am free to forgive quickly and completely. Just as Jesus is, God is quick to forgive. And He's free to forgive. And His forgiveness is complete. Right? And regardless of what else you put on. See, you put on makeup, you put on jewels, you put on this and that. But you did put on some basic dress. Right? You might forget these things, but you will never forget your basic dress. So no matter what you put on, wear agape. Unfortunately, Christianity has made agape as the summit to reach. But what does it say? Basic. Christianity 101 is walking in agape. This is where you start. This is not where you end up. This is where you begin. Unfortunately, what is the starting point? We have kept it as the finishing goal. Before dying, I will learn to love. Jesus says, hey, I have come within you. Let's start there. To love people is the easiest thing to do. When you love me too. Is God having strain to love you? Is He walking back and forth in heaven? Huh? Is it a pressure on Him to love? No. If it is not, then it need not be a pressure to love someone. If you really understand the gospel. Don't think it as a hard thing to do. See it as a basic thing. I'm going to put on love, which is the basic garment. Okay? It is your basic, all-purpose garment. Never be without it. பக்கத்தில் பார்த்து அவனை கொண்டி டொமினிகா அப்படின்னு இருக்கக்கூடாது. Okay? You should never be without love. It is like being without the dress. Yeah? Wonderful. See, initial years, she was... did you talk about the whole baby shower thing when you went on what they said? Right? Because I didn't. Yeah. In the initial years, she used to feel that I am the important guy because I'm on stage and all that she's doing is, washing poop and feeding. Before the first anniversary, we had our first baby. So she's constantly engaged. She comes to the church with 3-4 bags and Pampers and this and that. So I'm here preaching, doing this thing, and she is like doing all these things. And she used to... did you mention about your WhatsApp group? I don't... So she sees her class WhatsApp group. Oh, I'm doing PhD here. I'm doing masters in Dubai. I'm in Australia. And she's like, I'm washing potty. I can't put that in the group. So she was feeling... Then I told her, Lavi, for me, it really doesn't matter to give the mic to you next Sunday and say, preach, and you can also preach. But right now, you don't know who you are. Since you don't know who you are and you're trying to derive identity from stage, if you go on to stage, stage will kill you. But God will sort your identity out and you will know it. And then you would be free to use the stage and be a blessing to many. And that's the season that Lavi is entering right now, where these things doesn't define her anymore, where this light doesn't define. She is defined by the light of His face. Right? When you are defined by the light of the face of Father, then this light doesn't mean anything. So only then you're free to use. Look at somebody and say, what defines you will kill you. But what don't define you, you can use it. Right? Money, if it defines you, it will kill you. Crowd, if it defines you, it will kill you. But when those things, when your heart is divorced from those things by adding value and identity to who you are, then you're free to use those things. You're free to use money. You're free to have large crowds. You're free to preach to big things because those things don't matter as your identity. But to come to that place, it took 10 years for her, but it need not take 10 years for you. That's the whole point of this thing. Because our inheritance, what we fight for becomes your inheritance, which you can receive it by faith. Yeah? Since we were starting and we had to fight for these things, but we have fought it on your behalf. We have fought it for the community. So what we fight, you need not fight for. What we fight, you can just receive if you truly honor. Okay? That's how the whole kingdom works. And it will be much, much easy. For example, Chris V in Persia came last week to our house and they were sharing. They don't have 10% of what we went through. Because they are starting their marriage where we are right now. Right? So we are giving these things to them. And their marriage is in a much, much better space. So you can take advantage of these things provided you understand the power of the decision. See, today she spoke wonderfully on decision. But to let her know that it is the decisions, do you know how much struggle it was? I would say, Lavi, you can decide. She'll be like, what do you mean by I can decide? It is what it is. What happened, what happened. I'm feeling what I'm feeling. What is there to decide? This thing happened, I'm feeling like this. What is there for me to decide? How many of you feeling that way? Come on, just show me a little finger. Oh, it is what it is. What is there to decide? But all these passage, any verse that you take, it says, rejoice. Be anxious about nothing. Be unoffendable. What is it saying? You can choose to be that place. It's a decision. It is just well within the reach of a decision. How it is different from willpower? How it is different from willpower? Oh, I'm going to love. Try that, it will never work. When I say decision, how it is different from willpower, you should understand. Willpower is flesh. Self-effort is flesh. When I say decision, I'm talking about you deciding to listen to the voice of God in that moment. So when you listen to the voice of God, for example, in my mind, when I'm knocking at the door, I'm having 2 tracks in my mind, right? Okay? Just let her. Okay. Let's see what she's doing. That's 1 track. No. Can't afford. Stay. Go humble. And push. So now I'm having 2 voices in my head. I'm having a decision to make. So when I decide to listen to the voice of God, power comes within me. It's not self-power. It is not self-generated willpower. The moment you decide to listen to the voice of God, supernatural power comes to you. Just like Jesus looked at Peter and said, "Come." The word "come" had the power infused, that whatever it took for him to walk on waters was in that word "come." So when you listen to the voice of God, as still small voice as it is, it won't be in a loudspeaker like this. It will be a very still small voice, but when you listen to it, you will have a supernatural strength infused within you to do something that you can't humanly do. Okay? Wonderful. Let's all stand to our feet. As we draw near to the communion, I want you to know that communion is a wonderful place to practice these things. Jesus shed his blood for us so that we can step into these things. Right? The freedom that, truly the freedom that comes when you learn to be unoffendable because you have decided to unconditionally love someone is something that you ought to experience for it yourself. When you're constantly having strings attached and getting disappointed by every little thing, it's too much of a pressure, too much of energy. To walk in unconditional love, you need supernatural energy, but you need very less human energy. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying? You will have supernatural energy. You won't even feel drained loving people. You won't feel drained. After all these 12 years, if I'm going to feel drained, this is not worth it, right? I've never regretted my choice. I've never felt drained. I never felt sucked out because it was supernatural flow. It was a supernatural flow. So you need not feel drained. You need not feel sucked out in loving your spouse or loving anyone for that matter. If you tap into what is available through the gospel. But it is well within the reach of a decision. Right? It is well within the reach of the decision. Jesus shed his blood. And he forgave through the shedding of blood. Not in a legal sense. In the process of shedding blood, he forgave. Abel was shedding blood. In the process of shedding blood, he wanted revenge. Jesus, in the process of shedding blood, he forgave. That's why his blood speaks better things than that of Abel. And when you drink that blood, I want you to know the voice of this blood that speaks better things will speak through you as well. Will speak through you as well. Because this has a better voice than all the things that are of the world. This is unconditional love in substance that you're taking part of. His broken body, his bruised body, his shed blood. Oh my goodness. We are truly empowered. We should be walking on the planet as people who know how to love, who know how to be unoffendable, who are free to forgive completely, quickly, freely. Yeah. Great glory and power is going to be made manifest in this community. But first, we would learn to become love. We would learn to become love. Yes, that's where God is leading us to. He's teaching us to become love so that we can handle power and glory. Oribal Kashiantre Lemen, Hal Hodoromonohora Balkadara. Shall we all take part together? Come on, lift up your hands and pray. Lord, teach me the power of a decision in every minute. In the narratives that run in my head, teach me the power of a decision to turn my narratives around. As a result, through the power of a decision, I would turn my feelings around. You can choose what you want to feel at any given point of time by the power of the decision. And that decision is not willpower, but the decision is to allow Christ within you to jump out of you. It is divine empowerment. You decide, oh, I'm going to love Christ to manifest out of me in this moment. I'm going to push my ego to the side. I'm going to allow the spirit man to arise within me. Yes. As we sing, we're going to give. But even as we give, I want you to open your hearts as this song is sung for the love of the Father that is poured within your heart by the Holy Spirit. Okay? Just put this verse, Romans 5:5, quick. Romans 5:5. You can receive something today, right now, in this moment, that can turn your life around. Now, hope does not disappoint. Come on, say, now hope does not disappoint. Because the love of God has been poured out in our hearts by the Holy Spirit who was given to us. When Holy Spirit was poured, the Father poured the Holy Spirit on us, but the Holy Spirit is pouring something into our hearts, it seems. What is He pouring? He is pouring the love of the Father constantly into our hearts. And because of that, hope shall not disappoint you. Hope shall not disappoint, because the love of the Father is constantly being poured into your hearts. As we give and as we stand, opening our hearts for the love to be filled to overflow to others.